to look because I'm so used to having one camera to look at that normally I'm like, hey guys, welcome back to Happy and Healthy. Hello everyone. I seriously don't know where to look. So hello to my guests. Welcome back to Happy and Healthy. If this is your first time listening, I'm your host, Janina Mopola, and if you're watching the YouTube video, then you're probably like, what's going on? I'm confused. Where are you? Who are these people? What's going on? I know. All the things are happening. So I'm Janine. I'm currently in LA, and I decided I wanted to bring some lovely friends on to my podcast. So I'm going to go ahead and just introduce them. We have Miss Emily Lohman over here.
Hey, everyone.
We have Ali Sokoloff and Miss Sarah Partain, which Sarah Partain's been on the podcast
Round
before.
2.
Fun fact, round 2, baby. So yeah, if you're wondering where am I, I'm actually just renting out a studio in LA. I was going to film at my podcast studio. It didn't work out, so here we are. And I was having a conversation with my girlies yesterday, and somehow, actually it wasn't even somehow, I'm the one that brought it up. I was the one that was like, so how are y'all feeling about singleness? And and SP was like, dude, no one's asked me that in like literally 3 years. Like, what the frick?
Yeah.
And I think I'm just so accustomed to that because in Dallas, where I live, that's all people talk about is singleness. So we are going to be talking about singleness. Yay! How do we feel about that?
Oh, ready to roll.
Great.
Before we get into singleness, I'm just going to go ahead and open up my Celsius because we're getting a little ASMR moment. Everyone, wait
100%.
for it. Quiet on set.
Oh, baby. Wow.
Did that make you tinkle?
It did. I felt
That was like the
It was
OG
great.
Coke commercial.
Today I am drinking strawberry lemonade by Celsius.
Nice.
Okay.
Delicious. Sponsored.
So, we are talking about singleness, and why are we talking about singleness? I posted on my Instagram story yesterday, and I asked everybody, what do you want me to talk about? And I just got an overwhelming amount of people just be like, please talk about singleness. And it's a hot topic. I mean, if y'all know, when you scroll on TikTok or YouTube or anything, like, you're just constantly reminded either of how single you are, how lonely you are, everyone being like, you just need to wait more or like pray more for your husband or yada, yada, yada. And you're like, what do I do? And so we were just like ranting yesterday about this. And I literally just like stopped and I was like, y'all, this is a podcast. Like, we need to make this a podcast. So here we are. Before we get into it, I want everyone just to introduce themselves. So starting with you, Emily.
Yeah, my name's Emily. I live in LA with these wonderful ladies. And I've been out here for the last 5 years. I work for an anti-human trafficking organization, do like marketing, project management, and it's really great.
She
Little about
crushes
me.
it too. Okay, Allie.
Hello, everybody. So great to be here. Thanks for having us, Janine.
I can't with you.
I am also based here in Los Angeles. I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm also a certified trauma professional. And I work for a nonprofit that serves refugee families. So I provide free mental health services to refugees and their families.
Amazing person as well. Sarah.
I'm Sarah, and I work in creative media, so that goes in a lot of different directions. So creative direction, web development, design, photography. I work for a few different ministries. That's how Emily Lohman and I met. We work for the same one.
Yep.
And it's sick, just a hodgepodge of stuff.
No, literally some of my favorite human beings. Like, truly, when I think about why I miss LA, it's y'all. Like, I don't really miss the city as much, but I more just miss y'all. And I was just so reminded by the conversation yesterday of just how refreshing it is to be around people that just get you and that just can speak to your soul. And when we were talking about singleness, so just for everyone that doesn't know, we're all single here.
Yeah, that's right.
We're all
Just to
single.
clarify.
Okay. So we're just basically going to be discussing, like, why is singleness so difficult? Why is this such a hot topic all the time?
Totally.
How do we do singleness? Where does the world get singleness wrong? Like, there's so much nuance to this.
Yeah.
This might be a long podcast, but I think I just kind of want to open up the floor to kind of just like let whoever wants to talk about it. Like, how do we feel overall about this word singleness? Because it feels so daunting. It feels so like, the world makes you feel like you're a nobody if you're single, or you're not good enough if you're single. So
Yeah.
who wants to start?
Yeah.
Allie?
Sure, I'd love to. Yeah, wow, I feel like my definition of singleness within I'd say probably like the last couple of years has really changed. So I grew up in church culture. I went to a Christian Bible university. So as you can imagine, like just a lot of talk about marriage and singleness and all of the things.
Ring by spring.
Ring by spring.
Yeah,
MRS degree. Yep, exactly. And so for a long time, I felt like the goal was marriage. And I think even graduating university, I went to school in Florida. And after I graduated, I felt like I had almost like missed something. Like, why did I spend 4 years here and like leave without my husband? Like, I almost kind of felt like I did something wrong.
Yeah.
And then I moved here to California, and my eyes were just so opened because like a lot of people don't get married out here until like much later in life.
Yeah.
And I was almost kind of like, phew, like we're good, I have time, you know, which is so interesting that even just like a change of state and like culture changed my like definition of it. So I feel like within the last couple of years, I've like been a lot more accepting of it and like excited about it and just happy to like be where I'm at in my singleness, where as I feel like in the past, I always kind of felt like, am I doing something wrong? Whereas now I feel like I'm surrounded by a community that a lot of people are single, and it's like actually quite normal and a cool thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Wait, let's go around and say our ages really fast. So I'm
Yeah.
28 for people that don't know.
I'm 29.
26.
26.
Okay.
26 club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Late
like that you
20s
said
club.
that it was something to be missed, because it's not.
Right.
Like, and also it's like we're the ones that have created this timeline. Like I was journaling through this last
Totally.
night, and I'm like, this is a self-made timeline. Like I literally
Yeah.
thought I was going to be married by the time I was 24.
Yeah.
And now I'm 20 and I'm like, ooh, this doesn't feel very good.
Nervously strokes hair.
But also I'm just like, it's not, you're not gonna miss it. I don't know, like it's not something to be missed, and it's
Yeah.
something that I don't know, I trust God so much
Yeah.
with the timeline. And even though there's a little part, maybe y'all feel this way, there's a little part of you that like doesn't believe that God's like gonna come through,
Yeah.
or you really believe like, oh, maybe I did miss it. Like it is a little bit of a lie that I kind of
For
still
sure.
wrestle with. And
Yeah.
so even though like in this podcast, like we're going to be providing like solutions and talking
Yeah.
about it and everything, I still feel like this is something that it's okay to be vulnerable for all of us to
Yeah.
say, I still struggle with this. This is still something I think
Yeah.
about. Like, I think it would be a massive lie to say that we didn't go into rooms or parties or go to church being like, maybe I'll meet him here.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
who's the cutie in the corner over there? Like, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, just some of my thoughts. But yeah, what would you say about how do you feel
Yeah.
about singleness, and where do you feel like culture goes wrong with it?
Yeah, well, I think even to start, I think there's such like a negative connotation over the word singleness. Like it's made to feel like you are doing something wrong, or like you haven't reached a level that other people have reached if you're not, married, if you're not in a serious relationship. And I think that is such an unfortunate thing, because there's actually such a richness that can be found in singleness. It's like the time for you to understand like who the Lord created you to be, to understand the things he's put inside of you, the time to develop when you have the time and space to really focus on those things. And I think even what you said, you mentioned trust for a moment, and I think it really comes down to that in a deep way, because if you think about like the trajectory of a lot of people's lives, like we all start out kind of on the same path. We're going to, grade school, then we're in junior high, then we're in high school. But once we get to college, things really branch out in a way that we've never honestly seen in those earlier years, because honestly, the floor is open to us to do anything. We can move to a different state. We can blah, 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 blah. We can take this job over here, take that job over there. And so everyone starts from going down this similar path where we're like, oh, we're in high school together for 4 years, and then we're here for this amount of time. And then it's like, you can do anything. And I think when we see people on different timelines, we have accepted what maybe the world has said the like best timeline is, but we don't recognize that like we each have individual purposes, individual callings, which require different timelines for different things. And just because someone has reached something that we do desire at a different pace than we have, it doesn't mean we're behind. It doesn't mean we've missed it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that it's better. It's
Yeah.
better for them, but that doesn't mean it's better for us. And so I think that we really have to look at it from a place of trust, like trusting that the Lord like actually has the timeline set out, and that if we just keep walking forward, we're going to be in the exact step we need to be in the time we are. But it's so hard to not compare and look around, which is I think where so many people get tripped up.
Gosh, that's so freaking good. And that is, I truly think, like what constantly breeds this unhappiness is the constant comparison. I mean,
Totally.
if you think about it, like if we didn't really look at like movies or Netflix or social media or whatever, like I really genuinely believe we would be 10 times happier.
We'd be chilling.
1000%.
We would not be constantly like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't have that. My boyfriend didn't bring me flowers today. I didn't get a massive diamond ring like that. Oh, my
Yeah.
boyfriend didn't fly me on a private jet. Like all that stuff just breeds insecurities
Oh
and
my
breeds,
goodness,
and it's
yeah.
just, it's so sad.
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah, what do you think?
Dude, singleness, when people talk about it, I think it just gets me so fired up. Like, honestly, I'm so stoked to talk about this because I mean, y'all know, and so many people have the same story, but I dated a guy through high school and college. We were like super married, like, you know, no ring, but, like, it was that age of the promise ring, you know, you look around at all the girls in your class and like they all have promise rings. And I basically like, this poor boy, I like forced him to buy me a promise ring basically. And like his family, had this, I don't know, whatever. But anyways, from that point, I've been single now for almost 6 years. And one thing that I've really been learning from God recently is that he operates in equity of purpose. And so often, like, equity doesn't necessarily equal equality. And so when we look at things, we're like, that's not fair, that's not fair, that's not fair. And I think so often God is looking at us like, you don't understand, that's actually my highest fairness. That's my highest justice. Like if you read Job, that's part of his message that he's saying, like, I am the God of justice. I hang the universe in balance on the scales of my justice. And when I turned 26, I was Devo that I had to get my own insurance. And like Sarah Partain, my own insurance. I was like, I thought I'd have a husband, and I was telling God about it, and he was like, no, Sarah, I have plans for you, that he's spoken to me, things that I want to do in my future, things that I know are aligned with my purpose. And he was like, Sarah, I need you to sign up for your own insurance. And this is purposeful. This has my highest purpose over your life. But maybe this girl needed her husband to buy her insurance. But for you, you need to do this on your own. And so I think I've learned so much about how singleness, it's like one of my most treasured things. And I know it's like cliche and people can say, I love singleness, but like really I hate it so much and I'm really trying to get out and like I'm just trying to be okay. I love it so, so deeply. And those are newer revelations, but I just think it's sick. I'm fired up. And I think people need
Singleness, yeah.
Yo, I think women need permission to be excited about it.
I agree with you.
I am not pitiful. I'm not
No.
pathetic. I'm not trying to save face. I'm not trying to make myself feel better by saying I'm stoked on singleness right now. Like, people need permission to be really excited about it, because I think we know so many guys that are like, yeah, I'm single. I'm just like living it up, and everyone's like,
Right.
woo. But for girls, sometimes like, oh, are you sure, honey? Like, sure.
Yeah.
No, it's so true.
I'm really excited to talk about it today.
I love that. You don't hear girls say that very often.
Yeah,
Of like,
right.
I'm so stoked to be single. Like, literally never, ever, ever. Like every time I scroll on TikTok, every girl's like, I'm waiting for my dream man, and I'm like, yeah, and so am I, sis. But like, you just don't hear that often at all.
Right.
And I think, I know it's hard because it's like, I do want to speak to the people that aren't where Sarah's at.
Yeah.
Like where they're like, that sounds great for you, but I'm just not there.
And I wasn't always here.
Yeah,
Like, this
and
is
I'm
definitely-
still not there. Like I'm enjoying being single. I think all of us can say like there's beautiful elements of being single, but then you can't help but sometimes sit and wonder and be like, well, it would be kind of nice to have a guy by my side, someone to do this,
that wedding.
yeah, someone to pay for my meals. If you know what I'm saying? Like it would be nice. And so I think obviously the purpose of this podcast is just to help whoever's listening. I mean, this podcast is more for girls, but to help whomever to feel like that, like to get to that. And I think something that I just loved that we talked about yesterday was just feeling like you're not with lack by not being in a relationship. You don't lack anything. Like the Bible talks about, like, those that walk with me lack no good things.
Right.
Yes, a man is a good thing. He can be a good thing. A spouse is a good thing. But if God has you lack that right now, it's because you don't need it right now.
Yeah,
It's because it's not meant for you right now. That doesn't mean that it won't come. It doesn't mean that God can't promise that for you in the future.
Yeah.
But if you don't have it right now, there's a reason why you don't have it right
That's
now.
right, yeah.
And even though we can't understand that, we can't fathom that, we can't grasp it, of like, why would she get it? Why would she get married when she's 22 and I'm 30? Like, why would she get that and not me? And I don't have the answer. I don't think any of us necessarily have the answer for that. But I don't know. I just feel like I really, like, the main thing that I want to do in this podcast is just increase people's faith. It's spur people's faith on to be like, keep trusting, keep praying, keep believing, and like, don't waste the waiting. Like,
that's right.
I made a whole podcast on like the waiting season, because so many people can be so complacent of just like relaxing and chilling and being like, okay, well, I'm just gonna, just relax and just wait. And I'm like, no, you can wait well. Like, you can get busy doing things that fulfill you, fulfill God's purpose for your life. And we'll talk more about that. But Sarah, talk about the other day when you were talking about how, like, you're not willing to give up your singleness until you can find someone to double what you're doing.
Yeah.
How did you say that the other day?
I think that's a really recent revelation that has totally changed everything about my perspective, and it is going back to purpose. And I had this revelation when I was talking to God about turning 26 and not being married, that so many people operate from this position of lack, and actually we are not lacking anything. And you cannot need your husband more than you need the Lord. So walking now in singleness, I cannot be waiting for this husband to fulfill these needs, because he absolutely never will. I have to learn in this time, in this position, for God to be fulfilling those needs. And then when I get married, he gets to partner with me in seeking the Lord to fulfill those needs, and I get to help him in that. But I think one thing that people don't realize is they spend their singleness waiting for the start of their life. And marriage is not the start of your life, it's the addition, it's a multiplication of what already exists. And so the life that I'm living now, I'm living now, if I'm in discontent now, that discontent is going to be multiplied. And when you get married, obviously I'm not married, so I can't speak from the position of a married person or a married couple, but I can speak out of the revelation that the Lord's given me, that if I am discontent, and if you're taking on, you get married, and like I take on my husband's stuff and he's going to take on my stuff. So if I'm discontent and then he takes that on, that's a multiplication, that's a doubling. But if I'm living in security, if I'm living in confidence, if I'm living in full understanding of who the Lord is and that he fulfills every single need of mine, it's going to be a multiplication of that. And so I'm going to get to walk into marriage supporting my husband, encouraging my husband, saying, no, look at how the Lord has provided for all of my needs so far before you ever came along. And now we get to walk in that in marriage. And as women especially, God, he is the triune God. He is our Father. He's the head of our household. He is Jesus. He is our groom. He is our best friend. He is the Holy Spirit. He is our leader. He is our wisdom. We lack nothing. And so to be able to then meet a husband one day and walk into that and get to come in fullness, that's so beautiful.
100%.
And I can only find that fullness individually with the Lord. And when you get married, you're still an individual person, but you come together. And so, like you have to be, I hope that answers the question.
No,
but
that's so good.
That's the posture that I'm getting to live out now. That's really, really cool.
I love that. Any
so
thoughts, ladies? Allie, Emily, anything?
I mean,
it's spot on. The multiplication thing is everything. Because people think that, and I've heard it in so many different circles, but people think that when you get married, it solves all your problems, but really it just amplifies. It amplifies whatever is good, it amplifies whatever is bad. And so I think singleness is such an opportunity to work on yourself, to be like as whole and healed as you can, stepping into that, to have the healthiest relationship and marriage that you can. So I think it's spot on.
That multiplication applies to what we were talking about too, not just on these spiritual levels, but if your current life is going to be multiplied, y'all are so integral to me enjoying singleness, because we have done singleness well. Like, I'm not waiting for my husband to go to Paris. We all went to Italy together.
Baby.
Like, you go do it. The things that I feel called in my life, like, I'm going to do them now. I'm going to enjoy church and community and adventure. I'm going to move for jobs. I'm not going to move because of the potential idea of a possible guy at this maybe party, at this maybe church that this one person maybe knows. And I see people doing that and basing their life on this foundation of these maybes, but like, it's so sick to get to do. You don't like, there's no rules. Like, go, live your life, especially for women. Live a full life now. Like, you're not waiting. You're not incomplete.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly just the perspective that I've always had. And I wish more people had that, because like I said, they're just waiting around for so long that I'm like, get busy doing something. Something, like, find what you're passionate about. Like, I would rather someone find me, because a man's going to be finding me. I'm not finding no man.
He who finds a wife.
But exactly, amen. But I'd rather a man find me when I am just walking fully in my purpose and my calling, instead of him finding me and he's been like, so what have you been doing? And I'm just like,
waiting for you.
Just chilling. And he's like, wait, what? Like, I'd rather him be like, man, this is a bomb woman. Like, this is a woman that I prayed for and I waited for, and a woman worthy of pursuing, because I was busy fulfilling my calling and my purpose that God gave me. And like, that's the way I see it. I'm like, I'm not gonna stop doing what I'm doing because I'm waiting for someone. I'm like, no, I'm gonna continue to do this. And even when you get married, I will continue to do this. Like, again, it's a multiplication, which I think is just so beautiful. So I don't know, I just feel like people just need to shift their perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
And it is hard because, again, like I said, we were talking about this the other day, like it's just so dangled in front of your face. And like since we were kids, I mean, we watched Disney movies growing up. We watched Disney Channel, and everything is always relationship focused and relationship centered of like, you know, you're the princess waiting for your Prince Charming to come sweep you off your feet. So we've been conditioned for so many years to be like, that's when you'll be happy. Otherwise, until then, you're waiting in your tower, waiting for your Prince Charming to come get you. Otherwise, you're bored and you're lonely and you're depressed. And I'm like, no, I'm not bored. I'm not lonely. I'm not depressed. Like I have full completion and joy in the Lord and the Lord alone. And having my friends around me, like that just makes it better. So like find your people and do life with them. And I just really do believe, I'm like, God's going to bring the person at the right timing. And even if you don't believe that, like tell yourself that over and over and over until you do believe it, because the power of life and death is in the tongue. And so if you're constantly speaking these words over yourself of like, I'm never going to find someone, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not skinny enough or whatever, like you're going to believe that. And you're going to go into rooms carrying that energy around you, and people are going to like perceive that energy off of you. So like even if there's like a really great guy, he's going to be like, wow, she really hates herself. She really doesn't like herself. And like, I don't really want to be with someone that hates herself, you know? So start speaking some life over yourself. Part of today's episode is sponsored by Athletic Greens. So as you'll know, this podcast is called Happy and Healthy. And so I want to talk about a product that will help you with just that. It is called AG1 by Athletic Greens. And it's basically an all-in-one supplement that provides so many benefits. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source ingredients, probiotic to help start your day right. The special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, sleep quality and recovery, mental clarity and alertness, and so much more. So I started taking it because I have such a busy life and it's hard sometimes to eat healthy on the go. And so to make sure I'm still getting in daily vitamins, that's where I started taking AG1. So it really helps with that. So I just take 1 scoop per day and 8 ounces of water in the morning time. And it's cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself. And your subscription comes with a 1-year supply of vitamin D, which is so important to add in winter months because we don't get as much sunlight. It's also lifestyle friendly. So whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, it also, this is my favorite part, contains less than 1 gram of sugar. So no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything while still tasting good. Right now, it is time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with the convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. So to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So all you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/healthy. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/healthy to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. You guys are going to love this. It's super easy, convenient, and I highly, highly recommend. So let's now get back into today's episode, and thank you to Athletic Greens for sponsoring this.
That's so
right.
good,
That's
Jay.
so right.
Even just to speak to what you said about perspective, I think like just to be a psych nerd for a second, like that is actually so a part of our DNA and like how we function. So if you think about it, something that is very integral in therapy is this idea that like everything starts in your thought life, right? So if we start to think out of this place of lack and like even just how you said like more depressive, like negative thoughts about ourselves or our lives or whatever it is, those thoughts actually affect our mood, right? And like the energy that we carry into a room and like how we feel each day. And then from that, our mood and our feelings then affect our actions. So it's actually like this triangle that's all connected where thoughts equal mood equal actions. And so like what you're saying in the sense of, you know, how do you live out of that? I think that speaks so much to if you're living in this mindset of lack and like I'm not complete unless I meet my person, like you will see that in people's daily lives and like how they enter a room and what they put their hands to in their ministry and like how they're being fruitful in their life. Whereas if you meet someone that is more content and like their thought life, which is actually also so biblical, is taking every thought captive, making it pleasing unto the Lord. Like the Lord says that for a reason because he knows not only are those thoughts going to affect our mood, but they're going to affect our actions and like how we're fruitful with our lives. And like just to speak to again what you were saying, like I look at these girls and I'm like, wow, some of the most fruitful lives that like I witness like in my day to day because you don't live out of a place of lack. Like each one of you, I'll say like of course, am I stoked for that season of my life of marriage? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not just gonna like sit here and like sulk and like not let my life amount to anything until that person comes. Like, each of you are putting your hands to like holy things every single day, and like your life is a testament to that, and it's just the most beautiful thing.
I love that.
So good.
Yeah, segueing off of like talking about purpose, and I think conversations I have with girls sometimes about this, they're like, well, what can I do? Like little action steps, or like how do you shift that perspective or whatever. And one thing that's really shifted for me is that I used to pray like, God, bring me a husband, like bring a boy, like let me meet a boy tonight, or like da 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 da. And obviously, I still very much pray for a husband, but I pray in contingency to my purpose. And so I'm seeking the Lord. I'm seeking his purposes for my life. I'm praying, where should I walk in wisdom? Where should I go for this calling that you've placed over my life? Where should I go with this and this and this? And then praying, okay, Lord, bring a husband in tandem with that can help me like build that out. And so then it's taking my thoughts off of bring me a husband and putting my thoughts on, Lord, what do you have for my life? What is your will for me? Which is so powerful when you can shift that perspective. And then you were talking about that too on a secondary note, how we watch these movies and we're inundated with culture. And Emily can speak to this a bit because you were going off last night, but about keeping your mind sober and be of sober mind. And for me, sober-mindedness, I feel groggy and discontent and frustrated and irritated when I'm consuming movies, culture, TV shows, music that's only talking about sex and like dating and boys and whatever. So I think that was such a cool conversation we were having last night. As far as like action steps, keeping your mind sober.
I love that, and I think that's so important, and you don't really hear people say that. I think the main thing that you continually hear is people just being like, well, just pray more, just make more journal entries to your husband, just like do more. And I think there's something like maybe actually do less. Like do less. Like do better, do less. Like actually remove some things instead of adding more to your plate, which I'm just getting this revelation. I'm like, maybe I need to do this. But like do less and God bless, you know? Okay. I think I stole that from Trey Kennedy, so I'm not even smart at all. But I do think instead of adding more, like, yes, I think it's good for a season to pray for your spouse, like write the journal entries, do whatever you need to do. But sometimes you just need to stop focusing on it. Stop thinking about it, stop worrying, stop consuming, stop reading it, stop reading all the books, the dating shows, all the podcasts, and like almost just take a fast and a break from it. Because I remember I did this two years ago. I did a 40-day dating fast. Best thing I ever did. I went and just lived my life. I didn't even think about a man. I was like, this is great. It's so freeing. And I don't know, I think that's so great. So maybe Emily, can you talk about a little bit of what you were talking about of being sober minded in that area?
For sure. I think it's really important to even think about it from like a neurological standpoint too, kind of how you were like touching on that, where the things that we do habitually, it creates neural pathways in our mind. So every time we do a habit, it digs that neural pathway deeper and deeper and deeper. And so if we are constantly thinking about singleness or speaking these negative things over ourselves or believing these like terrible things about what's never going to come to us or what might not happen, we're digging that pathway deeper and deeper and deeper. And so sometimes, like you were saying, we actually have to stop focusing on those things so that we can let that pathway get cobwebs and literally die and like develop new, like God honoring, like God glorifying pathways of health. And so, I mean, even for me last year, I mean, I'm 29, I'm single. I've walked through lots of different seasons of friends dating, engaged, married. I've been in 12 different weddings. Like I have seen the things. And so with that being said, I've also seen how much the conversation of singleness can actually steal from what we're doing in our day-to-day life and even steal from the depth of our relationships without us even realizing it, because it's that verse, like out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. Like where your treasure is, there your heart is. And so if that's what's constantly coming out of your mouth, if that's what constantly is on your mind, like your mind is being like toyed with by the enemy. Like we know that the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and sometimes we take that like to like only the really, really extreme degrees, but it's like, no, he comes in little ways to steal even like to, instead of you thinking that God wants you to think about your purpose and your calling and blah, 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 he wants you to think about how you're single, how you're alone. Like instead of like when you're with your friends talking about the things that matter and going so deep into like maybe even trauma they've experienced and like things that they need like encouragement over, we're just talking about singleness over and over and over again. And so I think for me, what I did, I took like a 6-month fast from even letting a word about a boy come out of my mouth. Like I told all of my friends, like, do not ask me about a boy. I'm not going to like talk about a boy unless I'm physically going on a date. You're not going to hear me talk about a guy.
Wow.
Because what I wanted to do was practice like taking captive my thoughts and making them obedient to Christ, and also being aware, like when you are stopping yourself from talking about those things, you actually realize how much it's trying to come out of your mouth.
That's so true.
And then you realize how much of a hold it has on you, and how much you have to die to yourself, and you're like, oh, I want to talk about this so bad. Like I saw this really cute boy, and I like, you want to talk about it. And it was such like a moment where I was just like, okay, God, like I'm giving this to you because I know that this is going to produce a greater fruit in me. And I actually saw so many of my friends do the same thing. They're like, okay, great, I'm going to do it with you.
Wow.
And then in that space, like, because my friends knew I wasn't going to be talking about guys, we had the most incredible conversations, like conversations about our purpose, about our future, about the things that actually like just glorify the Lord's heart. We had so many conversations about how we can encourage other people and go deeper in this way and that way. And it was like when my mind was cleared of those thoughts that obviously they're important, but they're not like, they shouldn't govern our lives. And when my mind was cleared of those thoughts, like I felt like God was just depositing his thoughts into my mind.
Wow.
And so that was such an amazing thing to do. And it really checked me, honestly.
Wow. That is really
Yeah,
inspiring.
that's
Like,
really,
and I'm
really
like,
cool.
man, you don't hear people do that.
Yeah.
And that's what's so funny is like, that's why y'all laughed at me so hard when I was like, how do y'all feel about singleness? Because like y'all don't really talk about it. And then I moved back to Texas and it's all people talk about. And so it's like, again, like out of the abundance of the heart speaks, because that's my surrounding. That's like, you're a byproduct of your surroundings. And all my surroundings are these girls that come to me and they're like, I'm single, I'm sad, I'm lonely, la la la. And so then it comes on me and I feel like it's like weighing me down where I'm like, oh, I need to talk about this now.
Yeah.
And so it's weird like coming back to LA and being like, oh wait, like I don't have to talk about this. And I love that you said that, because like it is like a limiting conversation. Like you said that yesterday and I wrote that down, that only talking about singleness limits your conversation.
It's low-hanging fruit.
It is.
Like
It's
we
so
gotta climb the
easy.
tree. Like let's get something
there's
better.
so much
And we talked
more.
about we hurt our own feelings. Like
Exactly.
I saw a cute boy.
Oh my
He doesn't
gosh.
even talk to me. He's in a different room. I make up a whole scenario. We're married. We have 5 kids. Like
He's perfect.
whatever.
Everything I've
and then
dreamed
I
of.
see him
Yeah.
talking to a girl, and then I feel
Devastated.
rejected.
Yeah.
Right.
I never even spoke to the man. I don't even know his name. I don't know where he's from. I know nothing about him, and I'm sad.
Yeah.
Why are we
you
so good
kidding
at
me?
that?
Like, am I okay?
What? Like I broke up with myself. You know, like, keeping your thoughts
Totally.
pure and like sort
Yeah.
of like
It's
such a
so
it's so
freaking
important.
true. It's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for y'all.
Yes.
So there's like a ton of phrases that I feel like people, and I'm sure y'all have heard them and you can add some of your own, but phrases that people will say to single girls like, your time will come, don't worry, or you just need to put yourself out there more, or maybe you just need to work on yourself more. You're like, literally, shut up.
Yeah.
Like,
No, they
that doesn't help. Do y'all think that like finding the person is contingent upon our actions? Is it how much we pray or don't pray, or is it just solely up to God's timing and his sovereignty?
Oh, that's a great question.
Great question. It hurts me when I hear those things like, oh, well, when you're ready, God will bring you someone. I'm like, no, I've actually seen people who like quote unquote weren't ready, but it was the right time for them to get into that relationship. And the Lord did so much like pruning and healing in them through that relationship. And so that like concept alone is like, just because you're not with someone doesn't mean you're not ready to be in a relationship. It just means that it's not the right timing.
Yeah.
And I think it's both. I think it's both. So I'm not going to say it's nothing that we do, but it's not everything that we do.
Yeah.
Our life with Christ is a walk. We're co-laboring.
Yeah.
That's what we've been called into. But we can only control the things that we can control. We can obviously, if you're in your like parents' basement every single day, you're not going to meet someone, but like you do have to, like it has to be an extent, there has to be an extent of where you put yourself out there, but not in a striving way. It's like, just meet people, get plugged into a church. You're not out of the efforts of looking for someone, but out of the place of like, no, I am like just making friends. I'm building relationships. I'm like moving my life forward. And then the Lord will breathe on it. So it's like, it's not that we don't do anything, but it's not ours. The burden is not ours to carry.
Yeah.
The Lord holds the timing and he knows how the connection's going to happen. He knows how he's going to bring it to pass. But we also just have to put ourselves out there just in life in general for anything, even to make friends, even like to make connections within like the sphere that we want to like go into in a career, like there's so many different elements of that. And so I think our walk with God is like a co-partnership, but he is the one who is sovereign over all those things.
Gosh, well said.
So well said.
Well said.
I completely agree. That's actually been like my perspective shift has been, I'm going to go live my best life. I'm going to say yes to things. I'm going to like, some friends invited me to Hawaii, and I was like, frick yeah, I'm going to
Yeah,
Hawaii.
why
Like,
not?
and there's like these awesome single guys and there's single girls, and I'm like, great. And like, but I don't want people saying yes solely because they think I'm going to find my husband there. If I go to that party, maybe my husband's going to be there. I'm like, no, you just go and you be a blessing to people.
Totally. You love
and,
on people.
And you
like,
let you let God just do what he needs to do. But I don't want people going solely for the purpose of like, well, this is where I'm going to find my spouse.
Right.
I'm like, just live your life. Like, get busy living your life, and then like let
Exactly.
God bring him when the timing is right. But you're absolutely right. It's co-laboring. It's partnering with the Lord. Be prayerful and surrender it to God at the same time. Like, I think you can do both. You know, get a God who can do both. You can do both. And so I don't know. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, back on my soapbox of purpose, everything about my life right now is about seeking the Lord and seeking his purpose.
For sure.
And I think with a husband, that's not like just yes, amen everything Emily said. And then also for me personally, I'm not sitting here praying for I'm not sitting here like, Lord, bring me a 6'3" man with really dark hair.
It would be nice though.
Who used to
We
be an
do love
athlete.
it,
I mean, if you know anyone, like, let me know. But
She's like, at Sarah Barnes
At Sarah Barnes on Instagram.
if you're, but no, but I think looking at what I'm seeking, like I'm praying, I know the purposes that God has spoken over my life, and I know the callings that he's spoken over my life. And so I do not want anything that's even like an inch less or a centimeter less than the highest things that God has destined for me. So I'm praying. I think oftentimes people too have maybe not like the wrong perspective, but I think what church has conditioned us, or like just culture's conditioned us to do, is to look for the perfect person. And if you're not being perfect yourself, how are you going to find the perfect person? And that's putting so much pressure on both parties.
Yeah.
And I am praying over my marriage for purpose. I know what God spoke to me about my life, and it is powerful. And I'm praying that my husband comes alongside of it, and that everything about his life is unlocking to mine, and everything about my life is unlocking to his. But that's not about like a white picket fence or perfect family or perfect parents or height or whatever. That's about like these things, and maybe there's a struggle in his life, or maybe there's a thing in his life that's like he's dealing with, but that purpose and what he's learned from the Lord in that area is going to actually unlock something for me in my area. And so it's not about being a certain kind of person in ways. There are obviously things to look for and like discernment to use, but it's so much about just like seeking the Lord's will over a marriage. And so I don't know if that made sense, but I think it's so sick.
So good.
Yeah.
Anything, Allie?
Yeah, I think like when you first asked that question, the first thing that comes to mind is the story of Hosea, because I'm like, Gomer wasn't really ready. Like, sweet girl was like not. She was not like praying for her husband. Like she just wasn't. But like one of the most beautiful examples of like the way that Christ loves the church in the Bible. And so I think of even my friends that did get married like straight out of college. I'm like, they got married when they were 21. Me personally, like, I'm so grateful that I didn't, because I didn't know who I was. Like, I am so thankful for the last several years, because I feel like I'm just now getting in touch with like, who am I? Like, what has the Lord called me to? And like, I'm so excited to like know that going into marriage. Whereas a lot of my friends like were babies and like they didn't. But it's like so cool because their marriages are thriving. And I just feel like, I mean, you look at Hosea, like even just like thinking about my other friends that have gotten married earlier, I'm like, each relationship's graced for something different. And like it's all gonna look so different, and like there's gonna be a grace on different marriages for different things. Like so many of my friends would say that they didn't know who they were, and that they've changed like so much since they've been married, because like they've been able to discover like their calling, like even with their husband, and just beautiful things. And I just think like, yeah, it is, every story is different. And so speaking to like what Emily was saying, it's like it's both and it's a co-labor.
Gosh, that's such a good point of just like you change, because I think all of us could look back and like you could look at your ex. I could look, I mean, y'all knew my ex. Like I could look back in that and be like, wait, I could have made that work. But was that God's best, absolute best? I don't think so, like at all. Like great guy, but I really ultimately want like what you're talking about of just so much purpose, so much peace, where other people can see and you're like, man, this was worth the wait, versus me just being impatient and being like, I can make it work with this guy. He's a great guy. Like frick no. Like I want such a kingdom marriage, and I'm so glad. Like I'm disappointed probably that I didn't get married when I was 24 or whatever, but I feel like I have lived my life so well,
Yeah,
and
for
I will
sure.
continue to do that. That I'm not like mad. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just so funny because we could probably all look back and be like, thank God that
Right.
did not work out. Like,
Yes,
I mean,
literally.
so many times over.
Amen.
So,
Yeah.
so many.
yeah. And I think just like a prayer that I've had in this season, and I said this to y'all the other day, was just, and hopefully this encourages someone else listening, is that like I pray that people's prayer would be, God, don't allow me to open up doors with men that you never asked me to open.
Yeah.
Like help me to
So
never
good.
even walk through the door. Don't even like be tempted by the door.
Yeah.
Because there's gonna be good guys that are gonna come along and you're like, oh well, you know, he's
Yeah.
cute, he's 6'3",
Yeah.
tall, dark, and handsome,
Okay,
whatever,
yeah.
blah blah blah. You're gonna be tempted. But my prayer is that God would just have such a protection over me, or that I would have God eyes for the person that He does want me to see,
Yeah,
and then
that's
shut
right.
my eyes for any other man
good.
He doesn't want me to see.
Yeah.
Because I'm sick of like wasting my time dating men that God was like, I never asked you to date that person.
Right.
Like you went and did that in your own strength and your
Yeah.
own like will. And so now I'm like, oh crap.
like,
And so I feel bad. But that's just been my prayer is like, Lord, would you protect me until you know that this is the person for me? And I pray
Right.
that other people pray that as well.
So good.
Okay, so to wrap up, how do we do singleness well? Like what are some things, just getting really, really practical, and then
Yeah.
we'll close out. But some of the questions I had are, what are things to do in this season? What gives you hope? What are truths you cling to? And then just kind of like practically, like how do we do this season well? Starting with you, Emily.
Yes. So one thing that I wanted to touch on, and we have kind of like said it here and there, the Lord withholds no good thing. Like God is good. We know this. And so going on the line of like the truths that I cling to, like that is one of them. But like I want to dive in like a tiny bit. So in Genesis, when God is calling things good, when he's talking about like him creating man and woman and creating the heavens and the earth, and he's like, this is good. One of the translations of good means that it has everything necessary to fulfill the purpose that it was made for.
Yes,
I'm like, oh
purpose.
my gosh, okay, like let's look at it through that lens. Like if the Lord withholds no good thing, that means that I have everything necessary in this season of singleness with the Lord to fulfill the purpose that he has set out for me. And so when I say that to myself, it's not just like the Lord withholds no good thing, the Lord withholds no good thing. It's like, no, I like literally lack nothing because every ounce of purpose I need in this moment he's given to me. And so I'm like, I think that's such like an important revelation, because like when we say God is good, like God is good because he has everything within him needed to fulfill every purpose that he has in your life. So he knows the timing, he knows the place, he knows all of that. And so for me, practically, like it's a trust exercise, because faith is what pleases God. And until I meet my person, I'm not guaranteed I'm going to meet my person. You know what I mean? So I can't know. So I just have to walk in faith, believing that the Lord has like good for me, that he knows what is needed in my life to bring about the greatest good and the greatest glory. And so I think for me, it looks like not sitting in moments of like loneliness or moments of like sadness over it, because I'm not gonna lie, I've had moments where I in my 10th wedding, in my 11th wedding, you know, and I'm like, man, I wish my husband was here to experience this with me and go on these trips with me and do these things. But what I recognize, and it ties back to purpose, is like I want God's best. So I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to like try and search and look under rocks for this person, but it's like, no, I'm going to pursue the calling that the Lord has given me. I'm going to invest in my relationships. I'm going to pour my life out for the Lord in any way that I can. I'm going to travel.
Yeah.
I'm going to read. I'm going to learn. I'm going to just grow. I'm going to like go to therapy, work on the things that I need to work on, get ready
So good.
for like whatever's next in my life. And so I think those are the practical things for me. And I know we all do that. I've seen that in each of your lives, and it's just amazing.
Yeah. Gosh, amen. I think that's so true. That's exactly like why I wanted to bring you on, because I do feel like all of us have really used this season so well. And I think just practically for me, like I wrote down some of the things you said of just get busy living your best life that God has called you to. Travel, journal, read, serve, be in community, like do things you could never do. Like stop waiting for the life you want with a man. Like a man's not, he doesn't have to give you the life that you want. Like you can create that now in partnership with God. Like God's going to give you more than a man will give you. And so I don't know.
100%.
So those are just some things for me, like just practically is just like reading and therapy and like bettering yourself and just like living your life to the fullest if you can, you know?
Yeah.
Anyone else? Sarah?
Hey, just have a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
literally
don't-
have fun.
Don't wait, like what you're saying with waiting. I'm an individual now. When I get married, I'm still an individual. Like, I'm still a human.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
still my own person. And also, I think when you're single, you have a really unique, if you're looking at your friends that are married, got married early, then you have a gift to be able to learn from them. Some of my best friends are married, and I love spending time with them and getting to say, like, okay, what would you have done different? What would you have done? Whatever. And a lot of the time I've heard that they didn't actually learn who they were. And so, yes, they've gotten to do that in partnership with their husband. But I'm not with a husband right now, so I'm going to learn who I am, and I'm going to have so much fun. I'm not going to live in fear. Like, if I want to go on this trip, I'm going to go on this trip. If I want to go to this event, I'm going to rock up single.
Yep.
Who cares?
Totally.
Like, if I'm doing this thing or this thing, and no one is looking at you and being like, oh, they're single. It's not like a disease.
No.
Yeah. No one knows.
Like,
you're not
the
leper.
leper like with the building.
I'm poor and single. Like, it's not that. And so I think the biggest thing is that I just don't let it change anything about my life. You know what I mean?
100%.
It doesn't change who I am, doesn't change how I relate to God, and I do the things that I want to do.
Yeah, 100%.
Within healthy boundaries. Be healthy.
Of course. Some boundaries, happy and healthy.
I'm happy and healthy and holy.
Allie?
Yeah, something just so practical too that I've been doing recently that I've actually found to be so helpful is like almost kind of objectifying your life. And I'll explain what I mean. So a lot of times, like whenever we're like in our feels and like in our emotions are so overpowering. And like sometimes we just can't snap out of it. And I found myself, this was a couple months ago, but long story short, the guy that I like had this crush on for months, like found out he didn't like me back, and I was just in my feels that night. And like I had a huge project like due for work the next day, and a couple of my friends like were actually like all out at a wedding that like I was invited because I didn't know the girl, so I didn't have my girlfriends to church. It was just a night, like just one of those nights. Y'all know them. We've all been there.
For sure.
Too well.
And so I was like, I'm gonna go get a pizza. That was my goal.
Yes, queen.
So I like put my beats on. I like go to like walk to get a pizza, and I was just thinking about my life, and I was like, man, one day like I'm gonna have like kids to tell this story to, or like if I was like watching myself in a movie, again like taking yourself out of the situation, thinking about telling your life as a story, watching yourself in a movie, and just thinking about like actually if I was watching myself right now, I would actually think like this girl is it. Like like
she's the main character.
Having a main character moment. She is living alone in the city, walking to get her pizza because she's sad a boy doesn't like her back. Like this girl, like what? Like you know what I mean? Which sounds so silly, but I'm like,
kind of fun to think about.
do you know what I mean? Like in those
Yeah.
moments where we're just so overcome with emotions, if we just like try and remove ourselves, and I'm like, if I was watching this girl in a movie, or if I was telling the story about my life to my kids one day, like I'm actually so proud of myself. Like this is actually like a very like blip moment on the radar. Like, and I'm happy that I'm having these moments. Like I'm happy that like I haven't been like someone by my side since I was 20 years old, which is not a diss to people who get married early. That's like, again, amazing. And like each relationship is grace for something different. But like, wow, I'm so glad one day, like I'm going to be on the porch with my kids and I'll be like, yeah, mom was 26 in LA and like this guy didn't like her back, so she walked to get pizza. Like, what? Like I would much rather tell that story. You know what I mean? And in the moment it hurts and it's uncomfortable and it's sad. But in the grand scheme of things, it's just like such a temporary feeling that like, if you can objectify it a little bit, it's actually like kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a really fun perspective.
Yeah.
Thanks, Allie. I love that. Yeah, I think just to close, like I really do want to empathize with the girls that are like, well, easy for y'all to say. You know, you live in LA, you have your best friends, you live by the beach, like you have the funds, like maybe they're feeling young or they're feeling like no man's pursued me in X amount of years, whatever. Like I just want to let those girls know like we see you and we've all been through seasons like that. I know for sure I have. And or maybe you're the girl and you're like, I'm watching everyone else get this but me. Like you feel like you're falling behind, you feel like you're not good enough, you feel like you need to change yourself, you feel like why did she get that and not me? And those are all so freaking real. Like I'm wrestling with those, you know. So like I just want to empathize with you and just say like there is hope. Like there absolutely is hope. And I just feel like God is not, he's not a God that's just going to tease us. Like he's not just going to dangle things and then be like, wait, nope, sorry, taking it back. Like really just use this season and steward it the best of your ability and like get healthy. Like I really do believe like be healthy for your future spouse. Like when you meet that man, like be ready for him. And so like what can you do now to prepare yourself and to be ready to be a healthy mom, a healthy spouse, like a healthy just partner for someone that they can enjoy doing life with you, that you're not just like this mopey depressed person. Like obviously I'm not speaking about depressive like if you actually have a clinical thing. I more mean like you're just being like all like, oh my God, woe is me, you know. So I don't know, I just really feel like if you can, surround yourself with like-minded people, people that are going to call you higher, pray over you, encourage you, get busy serving in the church. Like, you never know who you can meet there, whether that's friends or a spouse. I don't know. And just, we see you, we feel you, we empathize with you. It can be a really hard season,
And
but
we've been there.
we've all been there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it's not a season, like just as Allie was saying, like, it's not a season that's going to last forever.
Right.
It's just not. So yeah, any other final thoughts, ladies?
So, okay, I have a really funny story about
Oh,
being like,
please
do you
tell.
want- okay. Okay. So this
Her stories are the best. I'm just saying.
Stories.
Brace yourself.
okay. Because I feel like this whole time I've been like stoked. I'm stoked on single, whatever. Like, yes, I am now. And as I said,
As we said.
I literally did not get, when I said I didn't get asked out, like I was single for five and a half-ish years. When I say single, not even a DM, not even a weird guy, not even like not even like creepy DM.
Not even asking for feet
Not yet. Yeah, I was about to say that.
Not
No
even
feet pics.
No feet pics. Oh my, ugh. But y'all walked that through, so y'all knew.
Yeah, we were
Y'all
with
saw
you
it.
in that
It
moment,
was
yeah.
almost weird. And there was this guy, again, hurting our feelings. We hurt our own feelings. That I just thought was so cute. And I was in this city that he was in town with, and we were just like friends. We had a lot of friends, whatever. And so he asked me to go get lunch or something, and we went and got lunch. And I just got sent to a place. I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know what I'd built up in my mind. But I get in my car, and it was just a day. I had shot a wedding, and I'm a photographer. I shoot weddings. I've shot a lot of weddings of exes or like what, just hilarious. So it was one of those weekends. I get in my car and I just start sobbing. Nothing happened. We literally got like chicken tenders, and I got in my car. Literally, it was at like 12 p.m. It was noon. Get in my car, start sobbing. And then for whatever reason, I decide to record myself because I'm looking at my face. I'm like, I look so weird. I don't know what's happening. Like,
do that all the time.
And so I'm sitting there, and I was in, y'all, I mean, this is really embarrassing. I kind of debated saying this, but I was sitting there, and I was like, I'm so ugly. No one's ever going to love me. I was, like, going to send this video to my friends, like, just going off. I was like, like, I just got, and I said him by name, all this stuff, whatever. And I was recording it on Instagram because I don't like when it mirrors. Just long story short, I posted the video. Long story short, I posted the video. Posted it.
No.
I went to
on
post it,
Instagram?
fully post it. Full story of me sobbing. And this was 5 minutes after he dropped me off. He would have known.
I cannot. You posted it for all your like
video.
11,000 followers. Wait, how many followers?
Like 12,000
12,000 people to see.
Posted it. Posted it. My service goes out. No service.
Oh no.
No
Actually,
service.
my worst nightmare.
No service. And I think I had like cussed or something in it. And I work for a lot of ministries. And so I was like, I'm going to get fired. This boy's going to see this. All my friends are going to see this. I'm going to have to like flee the country and change my name. Like all this stuff, whatever. I'm calling my sister. I'm panic texting my sister. Like, please log into my Instagram. Like, send me my password. Send me all stuff. You have to delete it. She's on a plane. She can't delete it. Like all this
my
stuff. I literally
gosh.
start driving.
I cannot with you.
Looking for service, can't log in. Long story short, my sister was able to get on and delete it, and I don't think anyone saw it. I don't know if they did. Come forward, please, because I really like,
Come forward,
wanna be
please.
forever
Reveal
stop it.
yourself, yeah.
But
now.
I say that story just like like we have all been there. We have all cried on the floor. We've all
Oh
been
my
around.
gosh.
All filmed
We've
ourselves
all
doing
felt-
it.
Yeah.
We have all felt desperate and weird
yeah.
and single and like whatever.
Yeah.
And so through those things, like that's where you put in the work and you know the Lord and He teaches you the peace that we're all kind of communicating in this
Totally.
moment. So,
Totally.
yeah,
Great
I hope you
story.
feel better. I hope you
Really
feel
just
better.
summed it up.
It's so good. But even off of that, just the tiniest thing, like it's those moments where we have to like sit in the tension. Sometimes you just have to sit in the tension, and you have to know it's gonna pass, but it sucks in the moment.
It's
Yeah.
the
And
weightlifting. Like
100%.
you don't get stronger without the tension
Yes,
of weightlifting.
and
Exactly.
it's like like His mercies are new every morning, blah blah blah. But it's part of like expanding our capacity. It's part of growing our faith. But like sometimes there's nothing to do but like you just feel it, and it just sucks, and you just have to be like, Lord, I know it's gonna get better, but like, ooh,
Yeah, right now it's thanks.
yeah.
Thank you, Alec, for the laugh. I really needed that. Oh, okay, y'all. That was a great podcast. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks,
Such a
guys.
blessing. I'm really praying that this blesses some other girls.
Yeah.
Can everyone just drop their Instagram handle so people can follow you? Because I'm sure they're going to want to. Emily?
Amazing. At Emily Lohman.
Easier?
Easy.
Simple? Allie?
Allie, ALLY.Soko, SOKO.
Okay. Sarah
And-
Partain?
Sarah_Partain.
I love it. Y'all, this was great. Thank you guys for coming on. This is such a blessing. Now I got to do all my little final outros. So
Do it.
thank you guys for listening to today's episode. I post these every single Tuesday. if this was a blessing, post it on Instagram. I will repost. Happy and Healthy will repost. I'm sure these girls will repost. You guys can
Absolutely.
follow
Yeah.
all of them.
Please
And
do.
just, comment your thoughts, or you can even DM us or just let us know what you thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, we're just praying that you just use your not even your waiting season. You use this singleness season well. You're not waiting. You're
No.
using it
Yep.
well. You're living your
Totally.
best
Living
life,
your life.
okay?
Love it.
And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. This was a joy, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Until then, stay happy and healthy. Bye, y'all. Bye. I don't even know where to look. I really don't. Bye.